layers and layers of learning through which we experience the world, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do you see your own patterns? I'm sure you are. This is how I always react. Now, you're all going to be triggered this weekend. I'm going to piss you all off, just deliberately. Because if you're triggered, something there you need to look at, isn't it? What is it what I said has done to you? If what I've said is not true, then correct me. Yeah? I want to be wrong. Yeah? But what's it triggered? What are we defending? A perception? Defending your perception of the world? Is that what you're defending? Your perception of yourself? So once this ego is created, it becomes the root cause of your suffering. And egos can be inflated, or they can be deflated, but both cause suffering. Well, my ego tends to work the other way. I'm not good enough. It does too. We've got to watch it, or we just kind of sabotage each other. Yeah, but we make things difficult, Steve, don't we? It's deep down in my conditioning. There's a belief that life's a challenge. It's a struggle. And boy, have I made it a struggle with precision accuracy. You do the same, don't you? We've got to stop it because it's really getting in the way now. Yeah, but silly things like that, silly patterns, hidden beliefs. What does your ego do? If it's not worthy, I'm not worthy, then of course you can see how that might affect you. Right, years ago, when I was doing my social work training many years ago, one of the jobs I had was working with young people leaving the care system, and in those days, it was very different to now. You found them a flat and you got them a job and you could get it all nicely furnished for them. And, you could send them on their way. And within a week, they trashed the place. They trashed it. And you fix it again and they would trash it. And whatever you did for these kids, they'd destroy it. I don't think there was any sort of willful intent behind it, looking back on it. It was just deep down in their early conditioning, their early learning, they had this belief, conscious or unconscious, that they didn't deserve anything nice. If anybody was kind to them, they would respond by being horrible. Yeah. And somebody did something nice for them, they respond by destroying it, because deep down in their conditioning, that couldn't be allowed. That wasn't. Now, we may not all be at that extreme, but I'm sure many have those kind of patterns. The self-sabotage, things are going well, we might self-sabotage. It's a common theme I've noticed with addicts. But when you look at it, particularly successful addicts, I went to a stage when in my practice in Bishopsgate, where I worked with some cricketers and top musicians and sports people, and the highest calibre. And it was a common theme that actually deep down they believed that they were a fraud, that they weren't entitled to this, and actually stood back. Everything they were doing was undermining their success. So you might see how a self-loathing ego can cause you problems, but don't think an inflated ego is going to let you off the hook. The more inflated it becomes, the more painful it is to uphold, isn't it? Don't you know how amazing I am? How dare you not know how amazing I am? You're undermining me, you're threatening me. No, I'm not. I just don't think you're that amazing. I worked with a guy many years ago, had a very serious coke problem, and in his day he'd been a really famous musician, and if you're my age you would know him, but probably not if you're much younger, because it's quite a short career, only known for a couple of songs. But every time he went into a restaurant and he didn't automatically get the best table, or that they didn't recognise him, or he didn't feel people had given him the acknowledgement he deserved, it would bring up the most appalling rage. Imagine living like that. That's 30 years since he had his last hit. Most of these people weren't alive then. But not to get from that ego, not to be inflated that way, caused incredible suffering, which in the end he had to fill with an awful lot of cocaine, which just made it worse, of course. So the more inflated it becomes, the more demanding. But you get it in banking too, don't you? Yeah, look at me, I'm top dog, me. Yeah. Well, they call themselves big swinging dicks, don't they? Is that what they call themselves? Says you everything you need to know, doesn't it? But I'm the big swinging dick this year. But there's that person there that's after my bonus, that person there that's after my deal, that person there that's undermining me, they're threatening me. No, they're not. They just want to be a big swinging dick. Yeah. People jump off roofs, jump off top of tower blocks, office blocks, because they lose their position on the top of the perch. Now who am I? Well, you're still you. You just ain't got a biggest bonus this year. And the more inflated it becomes, the harder it is to defend. And the more expensive it becomes to maintain. And they're all just ready to go pop. Now, most people's egos are a mixture of both, aren't they? Yeah, deflated now and they're inflated then, and sometimes you'll hear them arguing with each other. But they're both imposters. The real you is here now. Every time you come back, you've transcended that learning. Now, that learning is helpful to you. If you choose to apply it for your own uses, but what has happened is it has consumed your consciousness. The tool has become the master, and it's making a pretty shit job of it. Because learning, pure logic, pure reason, without access to a level of mind, your soul, your humanity, without that is inherently toxic. The only place that evil exists in this world is in the human mind. That's the only place you'll find it on this planet, is in the human mind. And evil is rationality, it is learning, intellect, without compassion, without a soul. Which is why the world is run by psychopaths, but we won't go there just yet. So it's really important that we observe our own egoic patterns. And some things to watch out for. That word I, me. That's all the ego talks about, it's me. I. One of the most lovely things about this weekend is how close everybody gets. And that's because there's no me's here. On these weekends, we get very close, become great friends, but nobody knows what he does for a living, nobody knows what car they drive, or how much they earn, or what schools their kids go to, because nobody's connecting on that level. There's something else going on here, isn't there? You see, as soon as I become an I've created a separation. There's me and the other. When you come together like this, there is no other. And my classes in London, they've been a bit quieter lately. Before the COVID madness, I could have 40 people in that class in London. And one of the things I love about London the most is just the whole world is there, isn't it? The whole world is in London. I'd have Sunni sitting next to Shia, sitting next to Jew, sitting next to Catholic, sitting next to Protestant, sitting next to Hindu, sitting next to Buddhist. I'd have Chinese, I'd have Asian, I'd have Indian, I'd have black, white, pink, green, gay, straight, every spectrum of humanity in that room. And when you brought them all here deeply into the present moment, there's nothing to separate any of them. Nothing to separate any of them. On that level of mind. The separation occurs when that I is born. I am this. As soon as I make myself this, I make you that. I was seeing a talk from one of my favourite teachers on YouTube, and he was talking about racism. And he said that racism doesn't start with you treating somebody differently because of their race. It starts with you identifying as different because of your race. And this is what really worries me about this whole transgender identification. It's all identification with ego. I am this, which makes you that. Each identification strengthens the I and separates us from the whole, dehumanises the other. No longer a human being, they're now something else, separate from you. So watch out for that word I. I mean, you're going to be using it in conversation, of course you are, but if you hear that word I being used regularly, then what's going on here? Who are you talking about? It's your ego.